Very good.
What?
It's like 4 minutes longer than any other.
Somebody else has a you have a piece of paper for Brian? Somebody okay. Now my tour of the space. The warm-up is always up there and it's always in green, and there's usually one every day, and sometimes it's instructions to do something, but either way, whatever's up there, you have to make an entry so we know that you were in the room that day. I'll get to that later. There's always a calendar on the far end of the whiteboard. You can see where it says Unit 0, Course Introductions, and Unit 1, Introduction to Environmental Science. It's always color-coded. They're always the same colors. Blue is for the day, the date, and whatever I have planned for that day. If it's underlined, it means it's an activity name you have to know, or a movie title you have to know. See how Happy Fishing is underlined? That's an activity name. And you see how Race to Save the Planet #1, RTSTP #1 is underlined? That's a movie title you gotta know. Red is homework due. And in my class, homework is due at the beginning of each period. You got 3 separate things due on Friday. They're all super candy cane. You got something every day in weeks 2 and 3. Those are mostly minor assignments. There's one big reading and one kind of bigger homework assignment. The rest are pretty mellow, so don't be too scared about that pace. It eases up. Like usually there's 2 or 3 homework due dates per week in my class. They're usually bigger assignments, but less frequently. And you always have a lot of warning like this, 2 or 3 weeks ahead. So you've got the flexibility to figure out when you can squeeze in the work. Any questions about that? Green is for holiday, purple is for after school. If the purple is underlined, that's a movie title in my after school film series. I'll tell you more about that later. I run an after school film series here. Questions? Questions? Bueller? Tight. There's also a day plan right there. That changes usually every day. So warm up, unit plan, daily plan. Ask me. Okay. On that paper you took out, you will start your warm-ups. You will read along with me, date each entry, paraphrase the prompt, then write your own unique answer. Copying is not okay. And the word absent is not okay. In case you're not here, you are still expected to make an entry for the days when you are not here. You'd have to ask a friend or colleague or the internet what the warm-up was, and then you'd have to make your own response. You can't copy theirs. I might not catch it, but if I do, I break bones. So here's what it looks like. A date, a paraphrase of the prompt. You don't need to copy word for word. I'm sure you could, just enough to remind yourself of what the prompt was. So you can see that my warm-up paper says paper or plastic, not that whole thing. And then a unique answer, like I wrote, I choose plastic because I use it to pick up dog poop. Your own answer, I don't care. There's usually not a single right or wrong answer, and even if there was, I just grade on completion. Here's what's in it for me. I keep you busy for about 5 minutes, so I can pee, take attendance, stamp homework. That's what's in it for me. For you, it gets you thinking about something that I'm going to discuss in my class. there's always a split in the room. Some of you are just here for the grade, or you're just here because the counselor made you, or some other strategic purpose. It just feels like busy work, I get it. Then there's some of you who actually are like, dude, I really want to do this environmental science thing, hit me. The warm-ups are helpful for that. They just kind of prime a topic. What you actually write is not that important to me. But the fact that you're kind of chewing on something before we talk about it, that is generally beneficial to you. So I recommend, if you're actually into this, that you actually try. I just grade on completion. You could write, Jose's funny looking, and I'd probably give you credit for it. So I don't read them. It's just like, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 days, 5 points. I collect those on the day of the exam. Always use the same format for headings in my class. Here with you. Always use the same format. If you ever forget, that's been there for like 15 years. That's why it's all yellowed. I have this whole system. I'm all about efficiency. I teach a whole bunch of classes, and like I spend a lot of time on my other food thing, and like I got family, and I like to get out of here and go fishing and stuff. So I never touch your papers. I have TAs for that. And sooner or later, we'll give you the right credit, but if you want your right credit on time, please use the heading. The system that my TAs use requires that heading. In case you can't see, A, get glasses or tell me that you have vision problems I need to help you with. B, it says last name, comma first, period number 3, and the title of this assignment is Unit 0/1 Warm-Ups. That will live there forever, so you can always remember, I do have a heading thing, and that's it. It's in the upper right-hand corner, always. By the way that they do the system, that's where it has to go. So yes, 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 lovely. Any questions about the headings? Please take 3 minutes. Now the cloud's break. Please take 3 minutes. Usually I would give you 5, but today's brief. No right or wrong answer, but write something. Ready, set, go. You can actually see a little tiny sliver at the end of the eclipse right now. If anybody has eclipse goggles, you could use part of your minutes for that.
Do you record our class?
I record me in your class.
Oh.
I do record your class when you take exams, because I'm not here during exams. So I have evidence of you cheating, and I give rewards for reporting cheaters.
So
How cool is that?
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
wait, so you record your lectures? Or?
Yes, and I broadcast them on a YouTube channel.
That's awesome.
Yeah. You were going to ask me a question, sorry.
I was just gonna ask what W/U meant, but you answered that. I didn't know that. Are you serious? Oh my god.
Yeah, it says unit 0.
Why do you think that's so?
Oh, yeah! Oh, hell yes! All right. Who's loads? I think everybody wants to use them.
Yeah.
Okay. Hey, I had to sign eclipse, everybody. Last 1 minute. It looks like what you think it's going to look like. A crescent moon, but it's the sun. Don't look at it without glasses.
Really cool.
You don't go blind right away. You go blind later when it's too late. Don't look at it without glasses.
Like how much later?
Usually 24, 36, 48 hours.
Oh, that's pretty recent. That's like insane.
I thought you meant like
Recent was long.
yeah, I was like 20 years later. It's 'cause they did.
case you're doing the warm-up, you have 27 seconds. If you're looking at the eclipse, you have 25 seconds. Okay, that's the end of your time. Now here's what I'd like to do. Who got to see that eclipse right now? Tight, right? I'm looking for to see more of it. Think about the geometry. Like, the moon's really far away, and the sun's really far away, but this thing casts a shadow on that thing so that we don't actually get any light from it. All right. I'd like you to go really quickly. I don't care what your answer was. There's no right or wrong answers. I won't remember your silly or accurate or stupid answers, but I'd like everybody to have one. Think of how to narrow down your reasoning to 1 or 2 words and tell me plastic dog poop or paper cover my sister's head or whatever. Got it? You actually have a sister, that's buggy. I didn't actually, but you should actually. Okay. Okay. Are there any questions? When I point at you, tell me which you choose and why. Is that clear? Everybody know what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay, ready, set, we're gonna go really fast, please.
Paper is recycled.
Next.
Paper because it's an old habit.
Next.
Plastic cat poop.
Plastic what now?
Cat poop.
Cat. Next.
Paper carrying groceries. It's like easier. Okay. Never mind.
Next.
Paper because they're reusable.
Next.
Plastic for dog food.
Next.
Paper environment.
Next.
Neither, I brought my own.
All right, smart guy. But if you had it.
Oh, paper.
And what?
Because it's reusable.
Thank you. Next.
Paper better for environment.
Next.
Paper easy to reuse.
Next.
Paper trash bag.
Next.
Plastic dog food.
Next.
Paper reusable.
Next.
Paper stands on its own. Stands on its own.
Uh-huh. Next.
Paper better for the environment.
Next.
Paper better for the environment.
Next.
Paper we use, recycle, or burn.
Okay, next.
Paper recyclable.
Next.
Plastic baggers hate paper requests.
Oh. Next.
Paper environment.
Next.
Paper environment.
Next.
Plastic multi-purpose.
Next.
Paper plastic is banned.
Oh, the man. Because the man makes you.
Yeah.
Got it.
I don't have a choice.
No, you don't.
The van.
The more choice we take away from you, the better. Next. I can't hear you because everybody's talking. What?
Paper environment.
Okay. Next.
Paper reuse.
Next.
Paper reuse.
Next.
Paper more bag space.
I'm gonna go with easier. You like that? Yeah. Yeah. Next.
There's more bag space.
Paper biodegradable.
Paper biodegradable. Next.
Paper reusable.
Thank you. Next.
Paper recycle.
Okay. Next.
Paper easier.
Uh-huh.
Paper reuse. Paper environment.
Plastic, it's cheaper.
Next.
Paper reusable.
Okay. Here's the funny thing. I do this not because I care about your answer or even because this is an important question. For the record, I don't care about your answer. And further, this is not an important decision. You'll make far bigger decisions every day. Also, I'm not convinced that there is technically a right answer. It's to illustrate a point. And I've got a few minutes to make my point. Let's see, how many minutes do I have? Like 13? Yeah, like almost 20 minutes. That's not bad. A lot of people are confused about my class, what it covers or what it should cover. A lot of people are sometimes disappointed by things which I say because they don't match what students expected to hear in my class. How many of you have a sibling that took my class? How many of you have heard something about this class from your sibling? How many of your siblings warned you that I say a lot of things you wouldn't expect from an environmental class? Okay, this is the point I wanted to make here. First of all, I think you could classify almost all of these considerations as environmental ones. Somebody said habit, that's not environmental. There were a few of you that had a functional preference for paper, that's function, not environment. Some of you noted that the man makes you, but interestingly, the man makes you because of presumably environmental reasons, which by the way I believe are wrong. Fun fact. Some of you have compassion for baggers or for the grocery outlet that's buying the bag for you.
That's a reason.
Or you pinch your nickels. You pinch your nickels, all right. But the rest, I mean 32 out of 36, are trying to do some environmental thinking here. I would say that environmentalism, like all the isms, is joining a group of people. I think that's a fair definition of an ism, is it? Like doing something with other people that has a label? I just made that up. Does that sound about right?
Sure.
That's an ism, isn't it? Like Catholicism is like, oh yeah, let's all do this thing we call it Catholic stuff.
Let's all be Catholics together.
Yeah.
It works.
Yeah, awesome.
Do it.
All right, yeah. So I see environmentalism as like joining a group of people for a reason. And I would have to say that most people agree with you about the environment and about reusability and recyclability and stuff. Problem with my class is a lot of environmentalism is inaccurate, or ill-considered, or ill-prioritized. A lot of our environmentalist choices have tremendous impacts that we don't know about because the system is more complicated than we realize. And that's what the class is about. It's about those complexities of that system. There's a lot of surprising variables in my class. Like how we affect things that are far away. Or how we affect other people as if that mattered. Environmental science is trying to understand all of those secret, hidden connections that are often really complicated and might rely on chemistry or on physics or on time or on economics or on matters of social justice or equity. And that's actually what this class is about. That's actually what the AP test is about. I'm not here to rip you off. The AP test is not interviewing you for a job at Greenpeace. introduction, very important. It screams for attention daily. The AP test doesn't ask you, like, yo, what's the hippiest brand to wear?
That's true.
Like, Patagonia is not the right answer on the AP test.
You sure?
I am actually. I've been looking really carefully at those questions for a long time. And it's really surprising, like the AP test will often ask you, like, why are pesticides beneficial? And there are many reasons why pesticides are beneficial. That may not be something that we should do as a society. We still have to decide. That's going to be your job. You all realize, right? Previous generations are handing you a giant steaming platter of turd. You realize that, right? Like, previous generations just totally broke everything, and it's like, good luck, try to eat. I mean, like, 1 in 3 people don't have access to sufficient clean drinking water today. 1 in 5 are mal or undernourished globally. Like, the stakes is high. Like, we're running out of dirt. And so what this class is like, yo, don't join the branding. Don't be a more reliable consumer, because that's what a lot of environmentalism is doing. It's just selling you other stuff. It's like, oh, don't buy this stuff, buy our stuff. Everybody's like, yeah, that sounds good. And we'll go buy our Patagonia gear. Like, oh, I'm saving the whales. Like, no, you're not. What I hope the class does is it shows you how complicated and big the network is, and then you spend the rest of your life trying to figure out what the numbers are so you can make smarter decisions. That's my hope. So, fun fact, you can reuse and recycle both of them. Technically in Santa Barbara, we don't recycle plastic bags through Marburg anymore. But you can still recycle them in Santa Barbara through most supermarkets if you wanted to. And you can reuse plastic bags. Often, if you take care of them, they can last longer. It kind of depends. Sometimes they don't. Same with a paper bag. You know, plastic bag can get wet, paper bag can't. So, reusability, recyclability, maybe. Biodegradable, that's true. Paper is biodegradable, but when we give it to the recycling facility, we usually don't biodegrade it. And if you ever put it into a landfill, nothing biodegrades in landfills because there's no oxygen, so there's no bio in a landfill. Fun fact, we'll talk more about that. A lot of us think about the ocean, or we think about the environment and plastic, ooh, for the ocean. Interestingly, it's probably safe to say that paper is more ecologically harmful in the ocean than plastic. Because paper is made from trees, and when you cut down trees, very difficult to avoid erosion. And sediment pollution is actually really serious in the ocean, and organic sediments, especially what you get out of the forest, can really change chemical compositions of the ocean. Plus, paper is usually bleached, and most of that is released into waterways. And so the chemical changes that you make to the ocean per plastic bag are generally smaller than the chemical changes that you make to the ocean per paper bag. And most of us don't realize that. And yes, it's true that turtles do eat plastic bags because they're stupid. And yeah, that's what they get for being sea turtles, but you know, we should try to avoid that. But you know, if we were just worried about our waste disposal process, I had a better idea, and everybody screamed over me, but when they were doing the plastic bag thing, the bag ban, I was like, no, I teach environmental science. Plastic is way better, man. We should just do a 5-cent CRV. Who knows what a CRV is? California Redemption Value? What is that? Yes?
You get turned in for money.
That's right. So like whenever you buy a can of Coca-Cola, you pay 69 cents for the Coca-Cola plus 5 cents for the can. And then you get the 5 cents back when you return that. The recycling, how many of you have heard of this? The recycling for nickels thing? We could do that for plastic bags. Right? Like you don't really see a lot of like plastic bottles of aluminum cans making it into the ocean, not as many as we used to anyway.
because now they're worth a nickel each, right? That would also discourage people from buying more than they need. Give you an incentive to save them and put them in the right place. You know, the trash in the ocean is a thing, but it's not like paper is free of consequences. Here's a wacky one. Do you all realize that probably the biggest environmental problem is climate change? Maybe you've heard of it? Yeah? Can anybody imagine why paper bags are so horrific for climate change? Yes?
Trees take CO2 out of the air.
They do, and you're right. Cutting down trees affect, but okay, technically most of our paper comes from farmed trees. Well, we've already removed the forest years ago, and now we're cutting down baby trees, and we're going to grow new baby trees. So that's what we call short cycle carbon. You're right about tracking that carbon. That's wise. Keep doing that. But in this case, usually in the United States, it's kind of not an issue. Anybody else? Yeah?
Does it require more machining to create?
Technically it does, yeah. There's a whole bunch of machinery to make each paper bag. So the production footprint of a paper bag compared to the production footprint of a plastic bag is about 3,000 to 1. Plastic to 1 paper. Production. Extraction is pretty bad for both. Petroleum extraction is actually kind of grisly. And processing of petroleum is pretty gnarly. But once you have the naphtha, the raw ingredient for plastics, it's just like a little blip of energy to make a plastic bag. It's made from a little droplet of naphtha. Whereas paper bags are actually really laborious. They use a lot of water. I believe it's 700 times more water to make each bag, paper versus plastic. Most parts of the United States we use drinking water for that. So the drought-stricken West, where we make most of our paper products. But that's not a climate problem. Anybody know the big climate problem? This is environmental science, by the way. It's getting boring already, right? So you're like, but that's what I mean. That's the science. It's all these weird little details. Anybody know the climate problem with paper? Paper bags? What?
I'm saying there's too many different reasons why you can say.
They're really big and heavy. So like a container truck of paper bags holds like 4% the volume, the number of a container truck of plastic bags.
So
You ever see what happens? You can take a plastic bag and you can like stuff it into a shot glass and have room for a second one,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But a paper bag actually is quite a bit of mass.
So
If you ever worked at like a grocery store, you bring out a pack of paper bags, and
Yeah,
that's like
they're
60.
big.
But you bring out like a pack of plastic bags, and that's like 500. Per bag, the shipping cost, you know, trucks give climate gases. Shipping cost per bag is tremendous. Plastic's made all over the United States, so they don't travel very far. Paper's made in just a few places, so they travel very, very, very far. Less efficiently per bag. So the climate footprint per bag is tremendously different. Habitat issues, much more habitat cost per paper bag than per plastic bag. Water use and water pollution and energy use, all of these plastic wins. So I went to the city council and I was like, wait, it's not that I don't like plastic, is that paper's actually a lot worse. And everybody's like, no, but we'll just make everybody use reusable bags and then we win. And I'm like, no, the dirtiest crop grown on earth is cotton. And the footprint for a cotton bag, like dozens of square feet, maybe hundreds of square feet of cotton grown, offsetting food, which is not exactly abundant on our planet. And you look at the energy cost of like milling and dyeing and shipping internationally for the most part, that cotton. Turns out you have to use a cotton bag like 30,000 times before you catch up with all the environmental costs. I always lose them. I'll use them 3 to 7 times before I lose it or something. I forget it at somebody's house and they throw it away. Each one of those has a huge footprint. That's environmental science. It's like, yo, let's look at the big picture, not the part where I'm a consumer and I get to pick what to buy. But like, let's get really analytical here. Like, what are the hidden costs? That's this class. BT dubs, all those numbers I said, I'm shooting from the hip. I don't claim to be right. They keep changing, you know? Maybe you live in a town that has a paper mill. Maybe you're closer, maybe you don't have the shipping cost. Maybe in that town paper is better. I don't know. I just mean to illustrate the way of thinking, not the details. By the time I get information and I can deliver it to you, like by the time I've got facts, they're probably outdated, and you're all savvy and intelligent and have access to information, you can do better. So I don't claim to have any total superiority on this decision. I just use it to illustrate the idea that there's environmentalism, and that's not me. I mean, I guess I am an environmentalist, but separately from that, environmental science is the nitty-gritty, all those, trying to learn those systems that connect weird things like the water quality and stuff. Yeah.
So, when I was like in elementary school,
Yeah.
we read a lot about how plastic hurts the environment and like the plastic island or whatever
Yeah.
in the ocean. Why do we never hear about the paper stuff?
Well, the man, you know, like the logging industry is kind of maligned and has never really tried to present itself as like, sorry, the petroleum industry is kind of maligned and has never tried to present itself as a solution. When I've heard petroleum executives like, no, plastic is great, everybody goes, boo for plastic, because we know that plastic, it's not like it's free of impact. I'm not saying I love plastic. Like, hey, you know what I do? A, I don't shop very much. B, I just carry my stuff. I was like, I just put it in my shirt, thanks. Like, you could still do things that are even more benign than plastic. I just mean to say that this whole like paper plastic conversation doesn't have all the facts. And I don't know why. There's probably a lot of branding and global economic trends and the part of the world you live in. You know, we live on the coast in a really green state, so we like love the ocean, or at least we think we do, or we say we do. The whole plastic island thing was a hoax.
Really?
The woman who wrote the original paper has spent the last many, many years fighting that term. She's from San Francisco, I've met her.
Yeah.
There are high aggregations of plastic in the ocean, and plastic is bad for ocean ecosystems. But the island of plastic, you can sail through it and never see plastic. Just, you know, it's hype, dude. Like, I thought J-Lo was cool, but no, she's not cool. Like, it's the same hype, dude. It's like, what do I know about Kim Kardashian except when they brand me, you know? Like, or like, you think like basketball stars, I thought you were like super good, but you cheated on your wife. Like, it's all branding, man. It's the same stuff. Hey, all right, children, I'll see you all tomorrow. It's nice to meet you. Maybe I'll remember your name someday. Bye-bye. Pass.